Brought to you by JEGS.
Hi, I'm Lisa Chissis. I'm the president and owner of Flex-a-lite. I'm here to show you our new Jeep CJ radiator fan combination. This is how it will come from the factory. So you get the radiator and the fan already pre-mounted. You can see how it's using the channels here to mount the electric fan. I've also got my control module already included in the system. I have mounting brackets for mounting the radiator to the stock mounting points. I'm going to use the T-bolts to mount it, as well as the kit bag to complete all the electrical for the installation. There's actually two part numbers. So we have a part number 51168 that's going to be for the Chevy V8 conversion. A 51169 is going to be for the Ford or AMC conversion. So first things first, you got to remove what was already in there. So I can loosen up the bolts in here to remove the belt-driven fan that was in here, as well as the radiator. I'm then going to use these stock locations here to put in the new Flex-a-lite radiator. We've given you body clips that you're going to use into the stock mounting locations. I've already attached 3, and I'm going to put the 4th one on, slip it over, and position it correctly. Next, we're going to attach the mounting brackets to the radiator. You can see there's a film that comes from Flex-a-lite that does need to be removed. Then I'm going to take the T-bolt, put it into here, get it threaded with the nut, and once I've got it on, I can position my bracket loosely like I've done on this side already here. See how I've gone into the second channel from the bottom? And then I slide the bracket about 1.5 inches from the bottom so I can get it into position. I'm going to do the final tightening once I get it put in. You're going to want a friend to help you with this part because we're going to sit the radiator down onto this rail so that we can get it into position. Go ahead and drop it down. All right. And then we've got 4 bolts that we're going to position in here. And we're going to go ahead and tighten all 4 securely here, but leave these loose until we position the fan radiator combination. Now that these bolts are all been secured, we want to make sure these are loose enough so that I can position the fan radiator off of this rail. So it needs to come up about 1/2 inch. I'm going to have my friend help me do that. Once he's got it lifted, good, I can go ahead and tighten the top bolts. Okay, we're going to reattach the radiator hose onto the driver's side inlet. Clamp it back down. Now we're going to place the probe into our radiator core. I'm going to put it on the inlet side here. First thing I'm going to do is take an undersized Phillips screwdriver and I'm going to put it through the fins. Be careful of your radiator tubes here. So it'll make it easier to put this probe all the way through. Now I want to use the cap, put it over the end of the capillary tube here so that we don't get it to back out. It also helps protect ram air from keeping that too cool. Before we move on to wiring, let's be sure to disconnect the battery. It's always wise to disconnect the negative first and then the positive. Your kit is going to come with 4 different wires. I've got 2 12-gauge wires and 2 14-gauge wires. My 12-gauge wire is going to be for the main battery supply, and then my smaller 14-gauge red wire will be for the 12-volt source. The green wire is going to be used for air conditioning, and the black, of course, is going for the ground. Also make sure you've got a good crimp. This is what it should look like. I should have good connection between the wires here. This shouldn't look splayed or frayed, and I should be able to pull on it without it coming loose. All right, I've attached my wiring. I've got the 12-volt ignition source going here. I've got my ground to this terminal. I've got my main battery coming down here. This terminal is for air conditioning, which this vehicle doesn't have, and this terminal is available if I wanted to hook in a manual override switch into the cockpit. Alright, so you can see we've mounted our wires away from any moving parts, and we've secured it in a couple of locations here. We've also included the fuse holder to the main positive source. Last, I'm going to hook up the negative wire with my negative terminal back into the battery. Once I have all the wiring connected, then I'm going to put my fuse into the fuse holder. We've reattached the lower radiator hose, and it's time to put the fluids back into our radiator. I do recommend that you add some Flex-a-chill into the system because this is going to help protect the aluminum from corrosion and scaling. I've included a new radiator cap. I think it's a good idea to invest in one. It can be a common point of failure in your system. Last but not least, I'm going to dial the fan to come on at the temperature I've set. So I'll start out turning it all the way clockwise, get my vehicle started, get it to the temperature I want it to run at, and then I will dial the knob backwards counterclockwise until the fan actuates. Then I'm done. It'll continue to operate the fan only when needed, when it gets to the proper engine temperature.
Brought to you by JEGS.
Lifetime support. Complete customer satisfaction. Delivering performance since 1960.
JEGS.com.